Welcome to the Dream Nation Breakfast Club, brought to you by the Journey Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Valentin. And for those of you who are new to the Breakfast Club, we actually gather together every single Tuesday from 7 a.m. to about 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Some days we go about an hour. Some days we go up to 2 hours. But welcome for those of you who are tuning in. I know we have people who are tuning in from all over the world. For those of you who are new, by the way, I know we're live streaming on different social media platforms, and maybe you're tuning into the podcast. But if you're new to the Breakfast Club, I actually have been hosting this amazing platform, and I've been nurturing this community now for close to 10 years approximately. And it's incredible because about 5 years ago, during the pandemic, we transition online. So we originally used to meet with the Breakfast Club every single day years ago. And we eventually transitioned over to having the Breakfast Club online. And we cover everything from personal development to life coaching, anything that could essentially make your life better. Every single Tuesday is something different. And if you'd like to catch past recordings, hop over to the Journey with Josh Valentin, wherever podcasts are streamed, and you can definitely find a lot of past episodes on there, including a lot of phenomenal interviews of just different friends of mine that I've interviewed over the years, a lot of incredible people. And let's jump right into it. Today we have a value-packed session for you all, and that is on how to thrive in today's economy. How to thrive in today's economy. So welcome once again. Let us know where in the world you are tuning in from, by the way. Drop a comment. Let us know what city you are tuning in from. And if you're watching the replay, drop an R in the comments as well. So we're about to get this show on the road. And if you don't mind, drop a like, comment, share, tag someone who can get value from today's Breakfast Club session. And let's get right into it. So but before we get started into the meat and potatoes of today's Breakfast Club, we typically share different life hacks and fun facts, personal development snippets. So let's jump right into it. The very first fun fact is you remember things better if you say them out loud. You guys hear me talk about this all the time. What you vocalize, you internalize. And there's actually a term for this, and it's called the production effect. So the life hack is next time you're learning something new, say it, teach it, or record yourself explaining it. Retention skyrockets. So anything that you essentially want to learn, that's why you guys oftentimes hear me say here on the Breakfast Club, anything that you want to learn, just teach it. Go out there, find someone who can get value from it, or a community that can get value from it, and teach it. These are the best ways to embody a lot of the concepts that we cover here on the Breakfast Club. And I always say take notes as if you're going to teach someone throughout the course of the day. And as cliche as it is, note takers are history makers, of course. And let's jump into the next fun fact. So let's see here. The next fun fact is your environment affects your willpower. So studies show people with more self-control actually use it less because they avoid temptation in the first place. Really great share, right? So just being mindful of your environment. I always say you have to engineer your environment so that it's conducive to the outcome that you want to produce in your life. So it's essential to create what I refer to as a winner's world, no matter what that is, but for you. And for everyone, it's a little bit different. I know for me, coffee shops tend to be an environment where I'm most productive, and I spend a lot of time in coffee shops working. I'd say 80% of my days is at some type of coffee shop because typically for me, that's the most productive that I find myself being. So moving forward, we have some more life hacks for you all. The next one is, the life hack for that, by the way, is set up your space for success. So remove distractions, keep healthy choices visible, automate good decisions. So there's so many different ways you can go about this. Many of you have heard me mention, if let's say, for example, you're looking to give up alcohol, it's going to be essential to make sure that your environment isn't promoting you drinking alcohol. So eliminating all of the alcohol in your home, or let's say you want to go on a diet, lose some weight. Then eliminate all of the fast food, the junk food that's in your home, and fill it up with healthy food. So there's so many different ways that you can engineer your environment, again, so that it's conducive for the outcome that you're looking to have. Next, we have listening to certain types of music can boost focus and memory. So certain classical music like Bach or Mozart, listening to this at 60 BPM, beats per minute, can help with learning and retention. So the life hack is to create a study soundtrack or focus playlist to train your brain into work mode. I know one of the things that I love to implement when it comes to my overall, when it comes to my personal development, or just when I need to get into a workflow, I typically, I'll play cinematic soundtracks. So for those of you who are familiar with Hans Zimmer has tons of amazing soundtracks for different movies. Many of you probably have heard his soundtrack in Interstellar or The Lion King, right? But he has so many amazing cinematic music that you could essentially listen to. And I like to listen to music without words, because I find that the words are typically a little bit distracting. So finding a really good soundtrack can be helpful, especially when you're looking to kind of get into your zone or get into a flow state. All right, here we go. Next, we have a few more shares before we jump into today's topic. And I'm going to give you some shares from the book Giant Steps by Anthony Robbins. Here we go. Next, we have transformational vocabulary not only helps us eliminate patterns of pain, but can also increase our pleasure. Start intensifying your experience of positive emotions by doing this exercise. Number 1, write down 3 words or phrases you regularly use to describe your positive states. Are they somewhat uninspiring? Number 2, come up with 3 new words or phrases that will absolutely thrill you. And number 3, enlist the aid of 3 of your friends in holding you to your new higher standard. For example, are you interested, or are you absolutely unstoppable? Also, does that make you feel happy or exuberant and impassioned? If you get leverage on yourself in the next 10 days, you can begin to use these new words effectively. So one of the words that I recently found myself having to stop using is describing myself as just tired of this or tired of that, or whatever it is that I'm going through. I was in the middle of a meditation recently, a couple of days ago, and I caught myself saying that I've just been tired, and it has been having an effect on, like a visceral effect on my body. Like I noticed myself not having as much energy, and I personally took that sign, if you will, during my meditation. Like I need to just be more cognizant of the type of words that I use to describe however I'm feeling. Like, so tired doesn't necessarily have to be the word, right? Because tired can have an effect on my physical. Maybe I'm just so ready for a different state, or I'm so ready for change, or there's so many different ways you can go about explaining your situation rather than using, let's just say, tired. So just something to be mindful of. I always say here on the Breakfast Club that you never want to say something about yourself or your situation that you don't want to be true. A really good book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Dr. Shad Helmstetter, if you guys haven't checked it out. Next, we have, not only do words have a powerful impact on our emotions, but particular sets of words, those we use as metaphors, have an extraordinary explosive effect. For example, you might say, I'm angry with John, or you could use a metaphor, John stabbed me in the back. Which description is more intense? Without a doubt, the thought of being stabbed will affect you more deeply. When you use a metaphor, you're not describing your actual experience, but how it's like something else. Often our metaphors are far more intense than the reality. What did John really do? He may have broken a promise, but there's a big difference between that and being stabbed in the back, isn't there? What metaphors do you consistently use to describe painful or frustrating experiences? So you guys have heard terms like love is a battlefield, or just so many different sayings, and it is so important to just be mindful of those generalizations or those metaphors that we oftentimes use. I like to refer to life as a game, because a game consists of obstacles and challenges and sort of like going through your hero's journey. And for me, it's far more useful to refer to life as a game than to, something that is, riding the struggle bus, right? A lot of people, they'll refer to life as a battlefield, or life is very hard, or life is suffering. You'll hear people say these types of things. And it's just so important to be mindful of the words that you use to describe pretty much any situation or circumstance. Okay, last personal development share before we jump into today's topic, and that is avoid autobiographical listening. Think of a time when someone listened to you with understanding and respect. How did you feel? This is super important. And today I'm going to be talking a lot about soft skills and how important soft skills are in the marketplace. And when it comes to soft skills are essentially emotional intelligence, let's just say personal skills when it comes to, or people skills when it comes to dealing with other people. And it is super important to be mindful of this. So yes, people want to feel heard. People want to feel seen. And one of the best things that you could ever do for someone is to give them your undivided attention. Okay, so let's see here. All right. Next, we have ask yourself, do I listen with the intent to reply rather than to understand? I know I most certainly have been guilty of this over the years, just thinking about what I'm going to say instead of actually just hearing people out and really doing my best to process what it is that they're saying. They say that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, because you should be listening twice as much as you're speaking. Okay, ask yourself, okay, do I understand with the intent to reply rather than to understand? Autobiographical listening is filtering what others say through your own story. Rather than focusing on the speaker, you are waiting to jump in with your perspective. So one of the best things that you can do when it comes to taking your communication to the next level is just being an effective listener. And it definitely helps, especially in today's marketplace, because people aren't the best when it comes to social skills in today's marketplace. And that's definitely one of the best ways that you can get ahead in today's economy, for sure. Listen. Here's a really great quote. Listen, or your tongue will make you deaf. It's a Native American proverb, by the way. Really great quote there. So let's get ready to jump into today's topic. And if you're new to the Breakfast Club, oftentimes what I'll do is I'll offer complimentary coaching sessions to our community. And I'm really excited because I believe next week or the week after, I'm going to be announcing some masterclasses that are going to be coming up. I know I've been getting a lot of questions regarding how to, launch a YouTube channel. This is actually officially my 400th video on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm almost at 12,000 subscribers, and really proud of the work that myself, my team, all of us have put into getting the YouTube channel to what it is today. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. And yes, today is the 400th video. So really excited for that. And for those of you who don't know, I literally just started on YouTube less than 2 years ago. So it's a huge milestone, and we've been putting in a lot of work to just growing the page and everything like that. So for all of you who share, like, comment, tag, subscribe, I mean, it's greatly appreciated. Leave a review if you're able to as well. So with that being said, let's get ready to jump into today's topic, which is how to thrive in today's marketplace. So every week I kind of just take some time to reflect on what are some of the things that our community needs. And what I've realized over the years is that this economy is just super, it's different, right? We're not living in the same times that we lived in the past, and the world has been changing really, really fast with AI, with so many different aspects of life. You see the world changing right before your eyes, and it is important to be able to adapt and to maneuver, to be able to essentially analyze what's happening and assess what's happening in the world, and being able to pivot. So today I'm going to cover a lot of different concepts around how to thrive in today's economy, and how it's different versus, let's just say, only 5 years ago, because pre-pandemic is definitely a lot different. The economy that we were living in pre-pandemic is very different than the economy that we're living in today. And with the speed of technology, with the speed of everything from AI and how competitive the marketplace is becoming, it is important to be able to keep up with the times and to be able to adapt and evolve. So let's get ready to jump into it. If you guys don't mind, drop a Y if you're able to hear me and see me okay. Just want to make sure you guys are able to hear me and see me. I got comments. Also, by the way, if you would like to engage with me live every single week, right online, you could also hop over to dnbreakfastclub.com, and that'll allow you to engage and interact with me live. So welcome, everyone. Okay, let's jump right into it. How to thrive in today's economy. Now, here's my hook to get us kickstarted. With prices rising, jobs evolving, and technology moving fast, surviving isn't enough anymore. You need to thrive. So what does that actually take in today's economy? That's what we're going to be diving into today. Okay, so here we go. Number one, we have mindset shift. So you have to make a mindset shift from security to adaptability. From security to adaptability, that's going to be the mindset shift. And I would say if there's anything that has allowed me to still continuously thrive after so many years, especially for those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, I've been in entrepreneurship. I've been a full-time entrepreneur since I was 24 years old, sustaining a family of 5 and all that stuff, and my overall family and community. So I've had to adapt and pivot over the years and evolve. And if there's any one word that I would say has been just true time and time again, the word or the characteristic that has been most useful, it simply has been adaptability, being able to adapt. There are a lot of people that I started with in the early years of my life in entrepreneurship who simply had to go back to work. They had to go back to their job, their 9-to-5s, and they may have embarked on entrepreneurship, but they didn't continue to adapt. They didn't continue to evolve. And that's the reason why they essentially had to go back to just working a traditional job. And nothing wrong with that. But for those of you who want to have longevity as an entrepreneur, it is going to be essential to always make sure that you're keeping up in the marketplace, always make sure that you're adapting and evolving and expanding. Okay, so let's jump into it. Right now, as you guys know, there's an old model of the way people went about life in the economy. And that was typically get a job, stay safe, and that's what it was. People would typically work for one job over the course of their entire career and then retire, and then they end up with their little watch that they get at the retirement and they sail off to the sunset. I mean, those days are over. It's a wrap for that. We're no longer in that age. The baby boomers got to really benefit in a major way from that economy, but we no longer live in that economy. A lot of companies aren't even surviving more than 5 years. So the average person today goes through at least 5 to 10 careers or career changes throughout their entire career. Some people even more. So it is essential to always expand your skill set, your knowledge, your expertise in all of these different things. Okay, so we call, in the world of personal development, we typically call it the 40-40 plan. You work for 40 hours a week for 40 years of your life to live off of 40% of what you couldn't afford to live off of in the first place. So you don't want to box yourself into the 40-40 plan because you just never know. You never know where life may go. And think about it. A lot of jobs within the next 10 years are pretty much going to be replaced by AI. They're going to be replaced by technology. There's so many jobs, even the idea of, let's just say, being a copywriter, right? Maybe you're someone who wrote copy in the past, or maybe you're someone who made a lot of money from running marketing campaigns. Today, with AI, you can literally have these things created. Even if you were a graphic designer, you can have AI draft up a graphic design. And a lot of these opportunities are no longer the same opportunities because of technology. So it is, again, essential to be up with what's happening in the world. And next we have adaptability is the new security. If you want to have security, adaptability is probably one of the best things that you can adopt in a sense, in order to have more security in your life. Now, there's an essential need for a growth mindset, resilience, and an openness to new opportunities. What do we mean by growth mindset? It's making sure that you're always expanding. You know, it's unfortunate. I come across clients that I'll work with, maybe they're in their 50s or 60s who, their excuse for technology is their age, right? Or they're just not good at technology. And they tend to just submit to that idea of not being good with technology. But you don't have the luxury of not getting good at technology in today's competitive landscape. You have to really learn how to maneuver and how to work with the technology. So today, for example, I'll hop on platforms like Canva. Canva drafts up all kinds of things, from if you want to do slideshow presentations, you want to work on templates, you want to work on even YouTube thumbnails and graphic design. All of these things I've had to learn just over the last few months. And the technology, again, is always changing. So there's so many different platforms, so many different things that you can utilize as infrastructure. And it is important to have that growth mindset where you're always intentional about learning how to operate these things. Okay, so adaptability is the new security. Now, here's a great quote. It's not the strongest who survive, but those most responsive to change. Charles Darwin. You see, some people had mistaken Darwinian theory for survival of the fittest, thinking that fittest meant the strongest, the fastest, the smartest. But in fact, survival of the fittest meant the survival of the most responsive to change. That is what Charles Darwin meant by fittest, how adaptable you are. And if you're going to get to the next level, if you're going to continuously progress, especially for those of you who are entrepreneurs, you don't have the luxury of staying the same. You constantly have to adapt and grow. And my suggestion, especially in today's competitive landscape, you have to learn how to work with AI. There's a misconception that we're going to be ruled by AI, and maybe some of you firmly believe that, and that's cool. But there's other people who believe that we won't be ruled necessarily by AI, but by the people who know how to work with the AI. And whether or not you believe in it, whether or not you feel like it's going to lead to the end of civilization, whatever your belief is around artificial intelligence, you have to understand that it's inevitable. It is here, and it is here to stay. Just like the internet was decades ago, the internet has been here to stay, and it's not going anywhere. This is the new norm. So you can choose to sit there and refuse to participate in this whole evolution that's happening right now, or you can choose to have a deep understanding of how it all works and get in the game. Okay, so here's a key tip. Reframe fear of uncertainty as a chance to grow. What tends to happen is people get very fearful when the world is changing and everything seems uncertain, and they're essentially in the unknown. And you have to reframe your perspective on this, because the reality is, if you want to grow in any area of your life, chances are you're going to be growing when you're in seasons of uncertainty, because now you're forced to make some changes. And I know for me, some of the biggest breakthroughs that I've had throughout the course of my journey has been breakthroughs that happened during very difficult seasons of my life. Like, I would not have launched my company, Dream Nation Media, if I wasn't in a difficult situation in my life where I was just doing my best to kind of figure things out. And I really dug deep and I expanded, I evolved. Even today, with the Breakfast Club being streamed on so many different platforms, right? That came from having to adapt in the marketplace, having to be out there pushing out more content, for the marketplace. So very, very important to understand. Next, we have skills that pay the bills. Skills that pay the bills. And today, there's a lot of new skill sets that you have to learn. Skill sets that probably didn't even apply just 10 years ago. Okay, for example, learning how to work with AI is a brand new skill set. Most people are just now starting to learn. And there's so many different other things that you can learn. But skills that pay the bills, it can be content creation. Maybe for a lot of you, 15 years ago, you weren't even creating any content. Just 10 years ago, think about the evolution of content creation. We went from just posting, let's say, a tweet to even posting up pictures. Then from pictures, we evolved into videos, and now today you can create all kinds of different templates with reels, and it's getting more and more advanced. And content creation, for some people, it's a bit complex, and they don't really know how to create content, or they don't have the growth mindset to say, you know what, I'm going to figure this thing out. And it's not to say that you have to learn it, because you could very well hire someone, right, to learn the content creation for you. But my suggestion would be to learn it, because it's inevitable that content creation is going to be a big part of our futures. And it's already a big part of our lives today. When you think about it, the modern day resume is your digital blueprint online. A lot of companies are finding people right online, and if they want to know what someone is about, they'll go right onto their content. It's a big reason. Like today, we live stream for the very first time via my LinkedIn platform. And follow me on LinkedIn if you don't, by the way. I'm doing my best to start getting more content on LinkedIn. And why is that? Because a lot of companies are discovering people right on LinkedIn. And here's the beautiful thing. Content creation, it's free to post. It's free marketing. And the way social media operates today, social media platforms are not just pushing out content because you have a lot of followers. Social media, the way it works today is content is being pushed out if it's just simply valuable content. So even if you don't have all the followers in the world, they'll still push out your content if it's valuable. So getting really good at content creation is essential, because when you think about it, all business is sales and marketing. You need those two things, sales and marketing. And there's a lot of ways to go about marketing, but back in the day, you had to do traditional marketing, like on billboards or television. And today, most of the marketing is done right via social media. Another thing is you can learn how to do traditional, or not traditional, but digital advertising. And today it's simpler than it ever has been. AI will literally customize your very own marketing campaign to push out your specific products or services. So again, these are valuable skills that you can learn today. Okay, so next up, we have a few high demand skills that in today's economy are very, very valuable. So for example, digital marketing, content creation, sales. Sales is always going to be valuable, because when you think about it, it's kind of hard for an AI to close someone on a sell, right? Like when we sell things, it's a human to human interaction. And as life goes on, people resonate more with humanized sales tactics. You have to humanize your sales tactics. There's no more of snake oil car salesman days, right? Where you're getting finessed into a sale. People are over that. You have to really humanize the way you go about sales. And that's the one thing that is going to become more valuable is your ability to sell with all of the different marketing and the evolution of traditional advertising. Okay. AI literacy, emotional intelligence, communication, public speaking. Public speaking is becoming more and more valuable in today's economy as well. And why is that? Because a lot of people, they're completely scared of public speaking, especially today. Most people are doing things virtual. So they're not really refining their public speaking skills because we live more in a virtual world. So now more than ever, is it valuable to learn the skill, the art and the science of public speaking. Also, you have things like soft skills alongside the technical skills. And soft skills, as I mentioned earlier, are your people skills. They're your emotional intelligence, different things that are valuable for a company today. So for example, here are different soft skills. You can have interpersonal skills. And these are soft skills that involve building and maintaining positive relationships with others, including colleagues, customers, and supervisors. Another soft skill is just communication in general. This includes not only speaking and writing clearly, but also active listening, understanding nonverbal cues, and adapting communication styles to different audiences. Teamwork, right? And it's essential for collaboration and working effectively within a team to achieve common goals. Adaptability, another soft skill. Problem solving, right? These are soft skills that help individuals approach problems creatively, analyze situations, and find effective solutions. And of course, emotional intelligence, which is understanding and managing one's own emotions, as well as recognizing and responding to the emotions of others, is also a crucial soft skill. So how much have you developed your soft skills? And that's why here on the Breakfast Club, we cover so much centered around personal development, because personal development is in a way, a school for developing things like soft skills. Okay. So next we have, when it comes to just soft skills in general, I have tons of clients that I work with that, like, I'll work with them for so many years that we'll go through different career changes, and it's interesting because many times we'll kind of circle back around to updating their resume and things like that. And a lot of companies, think about it, there's so many resumes out there, and how are you actually going to get a company to want to take a look at your resume? That's why it is important to be very mindful of how you go about your digital blueprint or your online brand, your LinkedIn account. You understand? And having not only the technical skills, but the soft skills that are needed more than ever before in today's economic landscape. Okay. Now, I want to encourage you guys to invest in learning or refining one skill specifically this month that will increase your value in the marketplace. What's one skill that comes to mind? I'll share with you guys some of the things that I've been just personally learning, and it's actually refreshing. I feel like I'm going back to school. I went to school for international business, and it's amazing how a lot of the stuff that I learned in college doesn't even apply anymore because it was so long ago. And the internet, it wasn't as prevalent as it is today. And there's so many technologies that just weren't even around back when I went to college. So today, for example, I'm learning different infrastructure platforms, and I definitely recommend you guys to kind of learn as well. So I'm learning how to work specifically with things like ChatGPT. ChatGPT is an AI platform that allows you to do all kinds of stuff. So even when it comes to my Breakfast Club material, a lot of the times I'm refining my content based off of content that I also get from ChatGPT. Yesterday, I was giving some coaching to someone who's doing some public speaking for a group in South Africa. And they reached out to me for some coaching, and I was explaining to them that they had to do a 45-minute speech. And I had mentioned how they could literally come up with their entire 45-minute speech right on ChatGPT. You could even prompt ChatGPT to also create graphic design work and all kinds of stuff, slideshow presentations, everything. So learn it because it's super valuable. And we're going to go into a world where it's going to be very normalized to work alongside AI. And yeah, critical thinking, creative thinking, these types of things are going to become more and more valuable. But in order to really maximize on your thinking, I think working alongside AI is going to be major over the next several years, even the next several months. So things like ChatGPT, I have a platform called Kajabi that I utilize for my inner circle community. We have a community of people within our inner circle, and we have tons of resources on there. I have my online courses on this platform, and this is an entire infrastructure platform that I'm essentially learning how to build from scratch, and even creating marketing funnels. This is also new for me, and this is something that I'm personally learning. And remember, like, you don't need to go to college to learn a lot of the essential skills necessary for today's economic landscape. And it's interesting because many startup companies today are not necessarily looking for the college degrees. They're just looking for people who can deliver, people who can execute, people who can get results. And there's so much that you can learn online for free. And companies are becoming more and more aware of this. So remember, formal education can make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. Educating yourself on things. So another thing that I'm learning is, I mentioned YouTube. Today, I reached my 400th video, right? And honestly, the majority of those videos were posted by my team. I didn't even post them up personally, but I realized that if I'm going to make a career out of this, if I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life, which I know I am, I have to learn how to utilize YouTube. I need to learn the intricacies of how this whole platform works. So I'm constantly learning something new. Even when I got into podcasting, what did I do? I went right online and I was consuming everything you could possibly consume on how to launch a podcast, how to monetize a podcast, how to go about this entire process. I hired coaches, I joined mastermind communities, all of these things just to be able to collapse timeframes, just to be able to learn a lot faster. And that's going to be another essential skill, is how fast you can learn. You have to be a fast learner. Why is that? Because everybody else in the marketplace is learning faster and faster. And that's why learning how to learn with AI is essential. So between YouTube, ChatGPT, Canva has been another platform that I've been learning. Like, I learned how to do my own YouTube thumbnails. I had my team drafting up thumbnails for me. And today I know how to create them right from scratch within 10 minutes. You understand? So all kinds of graphic design work. And the reason why I want to learn these things is because even if I'm not going to be doing it 100% of the time, if I ever want to cut back on certain costs, or if I ever want something done immediately, or even just to be able to properly oversee and manage my team, then I'm going to have a general understanding of what it is that they're doing, have a general understanding of what are the processes, right? And how do they go about executing on specific things? How long does a task even take? How long does it take? So I realized, for example, creating a thumbnail on Canva can literally be done in less than 10 minutes because there are already templates up there. So I know that if I'm giving someone on my team a designated task to create a thumbnail, it shouldn't take more than 10 minutes because I personally have done it. If I'm creating a funnel, for example, and I need to make a little tweak or edit, there's value in being able to execute a lot faster because I don't have to necessarily I can execute a lot faster because I don't have to wait on a teammate. You understand? So all of these are essential skills. And I just realized I never shared my Calendly link. So I have people all the time that reach out to me and they're asking questions like, hey, Josh, how can I launch a YouTube channel? How can I launch a podcast? How can I monetize my brand? Where do I start? Where do I begin? What's the fastest way? My company, Dream Nation Media, we actually provide services and consulting to help people scale their businesses and their brands in the fastest time frame possible. And I know that it works because I've utilized it myself. A lot of the infrastructure and things that we do, I personally utilize. So for those of you who just need help with this, whether it's YouTube, whether it's how to properly navigate podcasts, or you need to understand the platforms and all of that stuff, I'm going to share my Calendly link for you guys. If for whatever reason you don't see it, just DM me the word coach, and I'll be more than happy to send you my Calendly link. That way you can book a session that works best for you guys. Okay. And I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you guys may have. So with that being said, let's see here. We're going to keep the show on the road. You could also just go back in the comment section. I'll make sure we post it up in the description and all that good stuff as well. Okay. All right. Next, we have multiple streams of income. That's another important aspect of thriving in today's economy. When it comes to multiple streams of income now, we're not always necessarily talking about multiple businesses. Sometimes people get a little bit confused. They're thinking they have to run 5 different businesses at one time. And the reason why I don't recommend that approach is because you don't want to become the jack of all trades, master of none kind of person. You want to be someone that can master one thing, because chances are whatever business you're building, it's going to require 100% of your commitment and dedication and consistency and discipline and all of that stuff. So what I've discovered over the years is having a business and, of course, investing your money. Or once you become successful in one business, then you could essentially have, another business that you launch, or you can do things that complement one another. So I think, for example, building a personal brand is always going to be essential, even if you're doing any other business. So it goes hand in hand, because if you're launching a business, for example, and you're looking to acquire customers, many of your customers are going to find out about your products or services based off of your personal social media. You understand? So it is really valuable to build your personal brand simultaneously alongside whatever business you're building. Now, I know some people are like, well, I don't really like posting online and social media. Listen, that's okay. But just understand that if you really want to compete at the highest levels, then there are a lot of people who are okay with it. And you have to be okay with not necessarily being as competitive in the marketplace because you just refuse to do content creation in general. Now, if you want to bring on a team of people to run your social media, yeah, you can very well take that approach. But it is so important to just be able to monetize online and learn how to save money through free marketing. Okay. Now, multiple streams of income. Understand that there's risk in relying just on one source of income today, and relying on one income stream. Why is it risky? I mean, it's common sense, right? Because when you think about it, let's just say you're relying on a job, and that job is a high 6-figure income. Now, keep in mind, usually when you're making a high 6-figure income, there isn't necessarily a plethora of those same opportunities in your city. Many times you'll have that job, right, is probably a situation where if you lost that job, there are many people that have to leave their city just because there aren't a whole bunch of opportunity in the event that they get fired, or let go, or whatever, laid off. So you have to be mindful of that as well. Like, there are tons of people, it's interesting. I'll see people, for example, within my community, these mortgages, like, these are all $1 million homes, all around my community. And from time to time, when I see a home, for sale, I question, like, man, I wonder why they decided to move. Like, this is an amazing area. And if I had to really put my thumb on it, on why specifically they had to move, I would say the majority of the time, it's because opportunity moved. And maybe they had opportunity in a different city. We're in a very different world. A lot of people now have to bounce around from city to city in order to sustain their careers or have longevity in their careers. Okay. So again, so many different changes as it pertains to that. You look at everything going on in terms of all of these tariffs that are being created, and a lot of companies that were international now are domestic, and some companies are even going out of business because of the effect that the tariffs have had. I know recently China made an agreement with the US where they, lowered their tariffs and all that stuff. It's temporary, right? But the economy is changing at a very fast pace, and you have to adapt, you have to evolve. Okay, so there's so many ways you can go about multiple streams of income. It could be freelancing, it could be an online business, a home-based business, investing, content monetization, or even just side hustles, whether it's Uber, Lyft, Instacart, Airbnb, Turo, whatever it is. But there's so many different side hustles. But here's my recommendation. For those of you who want real freedom, side hustles don't necessarily bring freedom, because if you want true freedom, you need leverage income and you need passive residual income. Income that comes in and is not dependent on you physically being present. And for a lot of people, they get caught in this side hustle lifestyle where they're always hustling, they're always on the grind. And if you truly want freedom, you're going to have to learn how to properly invest, and you're going to have to learn how to essentially be in businesses that can bring in, let's say, leverage income as opposed to linear income, where linear income, you're trading time for dollars. So it's like, you do this, you get this. but with residual income, you can work once and it'll pay you out continuously. And there's so many ways to go about it. If you even are looking for example, a home-based business, reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to steer you in the right direction. Okay. Now, when it comes to my personal journey as it pertains to multiple streams of income, there have been seasons of my life where I've had over 10 different sources of income. So for example, I'm in the travel and lifestyle industry, right? I also monetize on my social media. So YouTube pays me, Meta pays me for the content that I post. It's not like life-changing money by no means, but it's so much better to be paid as a content creator than to just be doing it for free. Also public speaking, right? My public speaking rate, $25,000 for a 1-hour keynote speech, coaching and consulting, my company, Dream Nation Media, all of these different things that I have built over the years in terms of multiple streams of income. And there have also been businesses that have, came and went with the seasons, that have changed. And that's okay, because there are a lot of businesses that a lot of those products or services are probably no longer even applicable. You understand? People, for example, that got into the Airbnb business that are no longer in the Airbnb business because the rules change, regulations change. I remember when I was doing drop shipping back in the day, for example, and drop shipping was hot. It was a big business many years ago. And again, regulatory changes and all kinds of different things that happen that are outside of your control. And you could sit there and dwell on it, or you can adapt and evolve. And that's what I chose to do over the years. Even investing in stocks, investing in real estate, all of these different things. So if, for example, you're an entrepreneur, understand that as an entrepreneur, you're not necessarily, you may build a successful business because you learn how to do a few key, essential skills really well. But entrepreneurship skills are not necessarily financial literacy skills. There are two different skill sets. Sometimes people think that because you're a really great business owner, for example, that you're automatically really good at money. The expertise or the knowledge around money and how to maneuver money, it's a completely different skill set, completely different set of expertise, if you will. And it is important to complement your journey. And even if you're not an entrepreneur, if you work a 9-to-5 or you work a traditional job, what is your financial literacy? How would you rate it on a 1 to 10 scale? How well do you understand money? Do you know how to invest in money? Do you know what to do with the money once you make it? Do you understand how to set yourself up for retirement if that's your aspiration? But do you understand how inflation works? Do you understand how to grow a financial portfolio? Do you understand how to build an estate? Do you understand how to pass down generational wealth? These are all essential skills. So it is super, super important to have an understanding of how money genuinely works. It boggles my mind how many people say that they want financial independence, say that they want financial freedom, but they have not taken the time to be a student of how money actually works. So understand, when it comes to multiple streams of income, listen, even if it's just an additional $500 a month, it can be life-changing or life-altering. God forbid you lose your main source of income and have to rely on that. And you could even create offers. Get really good at creating offers. Go right online, YouTube University. It's free to go on YouTube and learn how to create a valuable offer. What is your skill set? What is your expertise? You can monetize on your expertise. There are a lot of people that will pay you very well for what it is that you have in your brain. So learning how to draft up an offer, learning how to market it and sell it, all of these things are essential. And imagine having a skill set that you can take with you wherever you go. It's like, for me as a coach and consultant, 99% of my meetings happen in person. I'm not in person, in virtual, right online. So even if I moved, let's just say to Dubai, I can still meet with clients from all around the world virtually, which is pretty amazing. So having skill sets that are also in alignment for the lifestyle that you want. For me, I've always liked the idea of having a nomadic lifestyle where I can just kind of pick up and leave whenever I want. Our kids, they homeschool. And the reason why they homeschool is because we love the idea of being able to even world school them if we choose to. If we want to go out to a country and stay there for several months at a time, we have the ability to do that because we're not plugged into your typical system. You understand? Or the way the system is designed, where you have to be at one fixed location and your kids have to go to the local school and you work the local job or whatever the case may be. Today, you can literally build a career that you can take with you wherever you go. And it's super valuable to learn how to be able to, learn these essential skills that you can take with you. Okay. As it pertains to financial intelligence, that's the next segment. So there's so many things that you can learn about money. My recommendation is go on YouTube, because a lot of the concepts have been evolving, and there are certain things about money that didn't even apply back then. Like we didn't even have cryptocurrency, for example, back in the day. And today we do. And today that's an add-on for some people when it comes to their own financial portfolio. But learning how money works, go on YouTube, read some books, listen to some audios, jump on some podcasts, and get your 10,000 hours in when it comes to financial literacy. It'll be one of the best things that you could ever do. My wife and I, we learned how to leverage life insurance policies and all of these things, and learned how to build an estate. But again, it was just hours and hours of consuming information. Okay. I also have within our mastermind community, we have tons of resources on master classes we've done over the years. My wife also, hop over to our podcast, the Rich Auntie podcast. She covers a lot on financial literacy and how to go about building your wealth. Really great podcast. My wife's name is Kia, by the way, Kia Valentin, of course. Okay. Now, when it comes to financial literacy, there are some essentials, right? Like budgeting, for example, learning how to properly budget. If you haven't really worked out a budget and you've been struggling financially, my recommendation is to actually write out all of your expenses and all of your fixed expenses, but also all of your income coming in at the moment, and put yourself on a budget. It'll be one of the best things that you can do to get yourself, or get your financial household in order. Investing, learning how to invest, stocks, bonds, commodities, all of these different things can be super, super valuable. Credit equals power. I can't stress this enough. And not only personal credit, but also business credit. A lot of people don't know that there are two different business scores or credit scores. you have your personal credit, but there's also business credit that you can build up as well. And it's a completely different credit system. So learning how that works as well, and leveraging assets, learning how to properly leverage assets. This can be super helpful when it comes to making pivots in the business world, okay? Or just pivots in life financially. Now, there's also what is referred to as lifestyle inflation. And many of you have heard me talk about Parkinson's effect. And there are a few elements of Parkinson's effect, but basically the premise is the more you make, the more you typically spend. And this is what lifestyle inflation really is. And a lot of people, they fall victim to lifestyle inflation. They'll get the raise at their job. And what do? They upgrade their car. They get the raise at their job or the bonus. What do? They go on their vacation. They get the raise. What do? They go out to fine dining restaurants and all of this stuff. And people have a natural inclination to spend more as they make more. And you have to be mindful of this if you truly want to take control over your financial household. So here are a few ways how to avoid lifestyle inflation. First and foremost, create a reasonable budget. The most essential to everyone's finances on the entire planet is a budget. Creating a budget can be done in 5 to 10 minutes if you already have an idea of your current spending. Doesn't take long. So if you have a steady paycheck and you know how much money you're making every week or every 2 weeks or monthly, then write it down and then just write a list of all of your fixed expenses. I'm not talking about getting your nails done, or I'm not talking about your fifth restaurant that you went to for the month. I'm talking about things that you have to pay for. That can be your rent or mortgage. That can be your car payment. That can be essential food and groceries, right? But that's what you want to put down in terms of your fixed expenses and see what you're working with. And if you have the ability to save more money, then save. It's one of the best things that you can do. You have to create a peace of mind fund, a fund that you have in place. God forbid anything ever happens, you could always rely back on that peace of mind fund, especially for those of you who are entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs. Build up your nest egg. When I retired from the workforce, for example, I had about a year worth of income, a year worth of all of my expenses paid before I went full force in entrepreneurship. So even if I didn't make any money from my business for an entire year, my bills would have been paid, and it gave me enough time to really maneuver and get my business to where it needed to be. So that'll be one of the best things that you can do, is to create that peace of mind fund and prepare for the winter, because winter is inevitable. And when times are good, that's when you want to double and triple down on your saving and investing. Next is stop trying to impress others. Keeping up with the Joneses, of course, is a known term for wanting and buying what everybody else has. An example is when your neighbor gets a new dishwasher. You know, now you want to purchase the same dishwasher, or maybe your neighbor leveled up to a luxury vehicle, and now all of a sudden you want to keep up with the Joneses. This is a common thing, especially in America. So run your own race, because you don't know what they've got going on behind closed doors. You don't know what people's financial circumstances are. Who knows? Maybe they came across an inheritance or a lawsuit or something like that, and now they're splurging. Doesn't mean that you have the luxury of splurging as well. So run your own race. It'll be one of the best things that you can do. Next is, do not take up more debt. When you get that pay raise, finding a side hustle that makes good money or making additional income, you don't want to necessarily add new debt because you can afford it. Adding debt to your budget is a step backward when fighting lifestyle inflation. So again, the idea is, as you make more money, take it as a sign like, you know what? I'm going to take this money. God bless me with it. Let me go and prepare for the next winter. And people have this crazy misconception that when business is good, that it's just going to stay good. And I remember, for example, our first company that we partnered with, we helped scale to $1 billion a year. And it went from 150 million to about $1 billion a year in about 6-year window. And it was a massive, massive company. And the crazy thing is, like, we had, over 700% year over year growth within that company. And everybody was on this unicorn thinking that we were just going to sail off into the sunset forever. And there are so many people that when times got tough and winter came, their world was rocked and they had no idea how to maneuver in the marketplace. And a lot of people who didn't build their brand or develop essential skills or technical skills or even additional soft skills that apply in the marketplace, a lot of those people, again, had to revert back to working their traditional job because they couldn't adapt, right? They didn't prepare for the winter. So you never want to have this illusion that times are always going to be good. It's just not the cyclical nature of life. It's like sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, but don't be naive to think that it's always going to be up. Next is pay yourself first. Always. You should always pay yourself first. This is based on the fact that upwards of 60% of people are unable to pay for emergencies up front. This is due to a lack of saving and poor spending habits, also known as lifestyle inflation. So pay yourself first. And what do we mean by that? Once you pay off like the essentials, so you obviously have to pay off your mortgage, your rent, your car note, and all of that. And before you start going to the restaurant, before you start spending on clothes and all of these things, make sure that you take money, at least 10% of that, if you can, and pay yourself first. Put it in a separate fund or account or whatever. Make it so that it's not so accessible, because sometimes the idea of out of sight, out of mind is going to be super valuable for you throughout your life. So you don't want to just put it or leave it in your checking account, because how many of you can relate that if the money is in the checking account, you're going to find a way to spend it? Even for me, I always find myself in a space where if the money's there, I'm going to spend it. So I've had to move money from one account to other accounts that in order to even access those funds, it typically takes like 3 business days just to transfer it over to my main account. And I do that intentionally to create a little bit of a buffer. You understand? And that way I'm not getting reckless with spending money just because it's so liquid and accessible. Next, we have take advantage of tax deductions. So there are many ways to take advantage of tax deductions. I know I personally have with home-based business, for example. When you run a home-based business, you can get so many different tax deductions throughout the year, and this will help you when it comes to taxes. And keep in mind, it's not always how much you make, it's also how much you keep. And a lot of people simply don't keep enough of their money because they don't understand how taxes work. Okay, this is also a very country specific topic. I don't know why the word country is in there, by the way, but this is also a very specific topic. However, there are some tax deductions that can be found generally on a global scale. Okay. And so many different things that you can learn when it comes to taxes. So if you're running a company, for example, there may be tax advantages to running your company and having it in specific states or regions in the world. You know, now a lot of companies are coming back in to avoid tariffs. So they're coming back into the country. And you have to continuously educate yourself on how the tax system works because it's always changing. Every presidency, for example, there are new regulations, there are new policies that are oftentimes coming about. And if you're not up with the times, again, you're not going to maximize on your money. Also, next we have stop the entitlement mindset, right? So there's no need for fancy cars and big houses if you are fundamentally satisfied. You are not entitled to nice things just because you see other people having nice things. Okay, and what does that mean? It's not to say you're not deserving of it, but you may not be at that level. You may not be at that stage. It may be reckless for you to go and buy the expensive car or the expensive house. If you're working, for example, as a job that's paying $50,000 a year and your neighbor is, you know, an anesthesiologist making $600,000 a year, you'd be crazy to want to drive the same car that they drive or live in the same size house, right? Because your income is just drastically different. So don't feel like, oh, just because the Joneses have it, that I also have to have it. Run your own race. That's the biggest idea. And last but not least, as it pertains to lifestyle inflation, is don't spend time with big spenders if you ain't got it like that. Okay, so a lot of people make the habit of being around people who like to splurge, and they may very well have the ability to splurge. And if you don't have that PJ money, then you probably shouldn't be spending all your time with PJ type of people. And what do I mean by PJ? Private jet money. That's what we're talking about. Just to get on one private jet flight, you're spending, chances are, thousands of dollars just for that one-way flight. And you may not be in that league, and that's okay. Let that be an aspiration, but don't get caught up again in trying to be able to hang, or you're in the club spending hundreds of dollars on bottles because the people that you're around, that's their lifestyle. No, you're not there. And that's okay. You have to be willing to accept that. And if that's something that you want, you work towards it. And you'll know when the time is right to be able to have the funds to be able to splurge on those lifestyle things. Okay, so the term big spender is relative to your income. But when you look at your inner circle of friends, family, colleagues, etc., you must be aware of those that spend a lot of money. So I have friends, for example, they love splurging on restaurants. Like, a lot of my friends are foodies, and I already know if we're outside, if we're hanging out, we're not going to McDonald's. We're not going for a $10 meal. No, we're going to go somewhere really, really nice. And you have to be mindful that some of your friends, that's also the kind of time they're on. And if you're on a tight budget, sometimes if it ain't a hell yes, it needs to be a hell no. Sometimes you have to really analyze, like, okay, do I genuinely want to cut my expenses, or not cut my expenses, but do I genuinely want to spend this money that I set aside for my budget? Okay, so my suggestion is read at least one book or follow one financial educator to start growing your financial literacy. And like I said, you can jump on to my wife's podcast or just go on YouTube and start the process there. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a really, really good book. If you want to go a little bit more sophisticated than that, Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins is also a really, really good book on how to build wealth and find out the new stuff. Go on ChatGPT, because it's interesting. I had a mentee of mine recently reach out regarding any book recommendations regarding business. And what I had to explain to him is that a lot of what was taught in books on business no longer even applies. So their best bet, I actually suggested for them to hop onto podcasts, see what's relevant in today's economic landscape, and go on and prompt AI to give you some of the information on how to run a business in today's landscape. Okay. All right. As we get ready to bring the plane in for a landing, we have a few more. Build and leverage relationships. Build and leverage relationships. So I'll cover the last few segments really quick for you guys. For those of you who are just now jumping on, the very first thing when it comes to thriving in today's economy is, number one was a mindset shift from security to adaptability. Number two is skills that pay the bills, adapting and learning those essential skills, technical and soft skills. The third is multiple streams of income. The fourth is financial intelligence. And the fifth is build and leverage relationships. So understand that in today's economy, it's not a solo sport. You have to rely on your network. You have to get really good at building relationships. And building relationships is a skill set in its own. Like when you think about networking, for example, networking will be one of the most valuable things that you'll ever do in your lifetime. Learning the art of networking and the science of networking, going to actual events and connecting with people. And I'm always intentional about going out and networking with people. It's probably one of the biggest things that I do as an entrepreneur. One of my key performance indicators, my KPIs, is going out and networking and making new connections. Okay, sometimes you need leads for your business, and the best way to get leads is belly to belly connections. Okay, some of the best opportunities, by the way, are going to come to you by the people that you meet. Okay, so you have to learn how to build relationships. If there's anything that I learned in this last winter season economically, I would say that relationships is the one thing that I realized is far more important than the majority of things that we typically implement in business. Having key relationships, super valuable. Okay, so understand that networking, collaboration, mentorship, and even building a community. If you don't have a community, you are playing yourself in a major way, because there is no community without currency, first and foremost. So that's why it always is good to have opportunity, right? And you need community and you need different aspects of currency, right? And when it comes to community, I mean, you have to go out there and build a tribe. If you're out there trying to do it yourself, it is a liability to go out there and do life yourself. You have to look at relationships as another form of capital. Some people refer to it as relationship capital or social capital, but it is a big essential part of your wealth. Now, your network is your network, or your network is your net worth. It's no longer a cliche, it's a strategy. It's a strategy, right? You hear it all the time, and it's always preached, especially in the world of personal development. But how many of you are actually taking time to build your network and grow your community? And in today's world, you'd be surprised. There are some of the best opportunities that will come about just from that one person you met at that event. So find a local event that you can go to. I mean, you can go on Eventbrite, you can go on meetup.com. There's so many different platforms. Just go online and start looking up local events and get around like-minded people. Get around a community. Okay. Next, segment 6 is stay ahead and pay attention to trends. So there's so many upcoming trends, right? AI is probably the biggest, most revolutionary trend in our day and age. You know, I'll share a fun fact with you guys who for those of you who don't know this, but if you've been following the papacy, like with the new election of the Pope, do you know that the new Pope, first and foremost, is American? He's from Chicago. And the new Pope, he took on the name Pope Leo the 14th, apparently, because Pope Leo the 13th was around during the Industrial Revolution, and he had to lead the church through all of the change that was happening during the Industrial Revolution. And Pope Leo the 14th, which is the new Pope, you know, they select their names, by the way. I'm not sure how many of you knew that, but they basically select what they want their Pope name to be. And he selected Pope Leo the 14th for the simple fact that we're now in an AI world and the world is changing. And we're now seeing emerging technologies that are going to affect our lives. And that's a big reason why he selected that specific name, because Pope Leo the 13th led the church through the Industrial Revolution, and this new Pope will lead the church. And he's actually, he went to school to become a mathematician at Villanova. He even got accepted apparently into Harvard Law and then became a priest, which is pretty incredible. But anyway, I just say all that to say that the world is changing. You understand? And we are the world that we live in, that we will be living in 5 years, may very well be unrecognizable. You understand? And it'll seem very like sci-fi, like it's not real. I mean, there's a lot of projections that within the next 5 to 10 years, a lot of cars are just going to be completely automated, right? And self-driving. So between AI, remote work, right? Nowadays, a lot of companies are leaning more towards a remote work labor force, if you will, or just their employees. You know, today you're starting to see more of a hybrid model where people are able to work from home, but they're also, you know, now getting in person, and it's not going to drastically change. It's just going to look very different than what it has looked over the last several decades. And that's something to understand because, like, for example, malls, you would have thought that malls would have been completely eliminated. I just went on Mother's Day. Kia wanted to take the kids to the movies. So we were there watching the Minecraft movie, and it's interesting because movie theaters are still being packed out. You'll still see a lot of people packing out movie theaters. Why is that? When we have the Netflix and all of these different platforms that you could just watch movies from home and buy them. Yeah, movies aren't going to be what they used to be just 20 years ago. However, a lot of people love the novelty of the experience. They love connecting with people. It's the same with music festivals, right? People want to be around people. So it's not going to be completely eliminated. Just like working at a physical location, people are still going to need to show up and build a sense of culture and community because it's an essential basic human need. So it's not that person to person or belly to belly interaction is going to be completely eradicated. It's just going to look very different. You're going to start seeing more of a hybrid model with more and more companies. Okay, personal branding is also changing right before our eyes. The way we brand ourselves online. And that's why I say, pay attention and stay ahead of the market. Next, you want to be students of change rather than a victim to it. Become a student to change as opposed to a victim to change. You want to be proactive instead of reactive. A lot of people are just reacting to all of the change and they're not getting in the game. So even for my kids, I'm having them learn a lot of different aspects of technology and how to work with it because it is an inevitable part of their future. All right, so as we wrap up, keep in mind the few key takeaways: mindset, skills, income streams, financial literacy, relationships, awareness. All of these things are essential when it comes to thriving in today's economic landscape, when it comes to thriving in today's economy. Okay, yes, the economy is shifting, but so can you. If you keep learning, you stay flexible and take a lot of action, this can be your era of thriving. It doesn't have to be so scary. And the reason why it's scary is simply because it's the unknown. It's unfamiliar. But I can assure you, the more you learn, the more you get in the game, the less scary it'll be. And you'll become a person that can adapt and sort of ride the tide, if you will. Okay, so with that being said, think about this. What's one skill you'll commit to learning in the next 30 days? Whatever it is. Learn how to YouTube, learn how to launch a podcast, learn how to develop your public speaking, learn your sales skills, learn how to properly network or your communication skills. But what's one essential skill in today's marketplace that you can learn over the next 30 days and double down on that? Take time every single day to learn that valuable skill. Maybe it's learning how to use a platform like ChatGPT, whatever it is. But this will be one of the best things that you do. And I want to always make sure that our community, the Dream Nation Breakfast Club community, is always at the forefront of all of this change, because personal development, what in the world are we doing personal development for? We're doing personal development for the simple fact that you're learning valuable life skills, valuable human skills, how to thrive as a human in today's day and age. And that's what the personal development is for, to grow you to serve the world at a greater capacity. So ladies and gentlemen, breakfast is officially served. I hope you guys got value out of today's session. If you did, drop a comment, like, comment, share, tag someone who can get value from it. Definitely leave a review. If you would like to set up a coaching call with me, you can just hop over to my Calendly or shoot me the word coach. I'll be more than happy to send you over a link. And God bless you all. Take care. Until next time, guys, breakfast is served.